How's it going, everybody? Rachel West here, along with Bucs reporter Rick Stroud, here to recap that debacle of a game last night. Bucs falling to the Saints 38-3. Just nothing was working for the Bucs. Rick, honestly, I kind of feel a little bad that you had to be there in person to witness it.
Well, now that's actually it's a privilege to go, but I will say this that we don't root for outcomes. People find that hard to believe, but it's true. The outcome we do root for when you have a night game and a tight deadline is that there's a clear winner by halftime. And I didn't expect it to go the way it did, but yeah, we could start writing that one pretty early at 31-0. You don't see that very often, and Tom Brady has never seen that, as a matter of fact. So that was a stunning start to a game, and one that the Bucs are having to search for answers for today.
Exactly. Yeah. A historic loss for the team, really, and Brady, like you say. So, with absolutely nothing going right for them, can you even pinpoint a couple of areas of what went wrong? What's your analysis on it?
Well, I mean, we've talked to Bruce Arians, and I think anytime you start games poorly, and this has happened on national TV a little bit, we can talk about that. But you never want to be in a situation where you're putting your defense in bad field position. They're defending half the field, not the whole field. But they just had a lot of blown coverages and things that are not typical of the Bucs defense, which has been very, very good. And good teams, and the Saints are obviously a very good team. They've now beaten the Bucs 5 straight times. They're going to exploit that. So overall, it was a complete and epic failure by the football team, and they have to. The good and bad thing about it is you have another game. It's not their last game, so they put this one away after about 24 hours, and they have to move on quickly to Carolina, which played a really good game against Kansas City.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm sure they'll be turning the page as soon as they possibly can. But going back, you touched on it a little bit. These primetime games that the Bucs have been in, they have not been putting on any sort of good display in front of the entire country, showing that the Bucs are here to stay. They're not a fake team by no means. Like, they mean business. However, they don't show that in the primetime games. So is there any rhyme or reason to that? What do you think could be the problem there?
Well, in talking to Bruce, I mean, he's looking at it. There's a lot of time, a lot of sitting around, whether you're at home or on the road. It's probably even worse on the road. I think a lot of it, and this is just a theory of mine, but when you talk to the players on this football team, outside of Brady and Gronk and some of the guys they've brought in this year, they're not usually on national TV more than once a year, which is required, right? And it's usually a Thursday night game. So, players are creatures of habit. They sort of have a routine when they're playing at 1 o'clock, and for better or worse, and mostly worse, the Bucs have been a team that national TV hasn't liked for years. And so these guys are used to their routine, and you have to be able to execute whenever the game is. If it's 8 o'clock on Sunday or Monday, you have to have a routine so you're prepared. And I think in some ways, in talking to Levante David today, he said they were a little too hyped. This was a big game. This was the biggest game. We talked about this going in, Rachel, that they hadn't played a game this big since 2008. So, you put all that together, and the experience that the Saints have in playing in these big games. Tom Brady has experience, and some of those other players I mentioned, but not the whole team. So I think sometimes you get a little too excited and start doing things, that your friends are watching you at home instead of just doing your job.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a good point. That definitely makes sense. I guess one of the many things that comes along with having Tom Brady as your quarterback is more primetime games.
Sure.
And hopefully they can adjust to that at some point. But now zoning in on one player in particular that we've been highlighting all week leading up to the game, Antonio Brown making his debut with just 3 receptions for only 31 yards. He didn't exactly leave his mark on this game last night. So how would you evaluate his performance, and what do you think we're going to see out of him moving forward?
Well, it's hard to evaluate it, right, because they were never in the game. And so he probably played more plays than he should have. But again, when you're throwing on every down, Brady didn't have much protection. And so his throws weren't always accurate. We did see the miscommunication that they had that led to an interception. I mean, Tom said that he saw single coverage. He preordained that he was going to throw it down the field. Brown pulled up. That's the sort of thing you see with a new receiver that hasn't been in camp all that much, or really at all, just 1 week of practice. So they'll have to get better at that on the field. I mean, he still looks quick. He brings a lot of energy. He had one catch for a first down and was real demonstrative, but they're going to need all these guys. The problem they're having now, though, and it's a question that's got to be asked, is that, they went from wanting more receivers, but have they eliminated their best receiver, which is Mike Evans? He's not seeing the football. And today, Bruce Arians said that he's open and available to Tom Brady. He's just not finding him. So that's got to become an emphasis, because Mike Evans is the best offensive weapon on their football team and has been for years. And you just can't go into the second half of a game that you're already out of before you actually target Mike Evans. So it's one of those things we talked about all season. He's getting healthy again. That's something they're going to have to try to fix. Right.
Yeah, definitely need to get Mike Evans in the mix there for sure. Now, luckily, we can wipe our hands of this game. It's over. Now it's on to Carolina next week. So how do the Bucs go back to practice this week, regroup? What do they have to do to kind of get back in the swing of things and just wipe this one from the slate?
Well, they're a 6-3 football team. That's the first thing they have to realize. They're not out of anything. They're one game behind the Saints, and yeah, the Saints have beaten them twice, so they'll have to finish a game ahead of New Orleans, or they'll lose the tiebreaker. But they still have a chance to win this division. There's a lot of winnable games on that schedule, and starting with Carolina. But I think they learned that if you're not prepared to play, any team can beat you, and they should learn that when they went to the Giants just a couple Monday nights ago. So again, you got a lot in front of you still in terms of what you can accomplish. One game, and this is the NFL. I remember when the Bucs, back in '99, they wound up in the NFC Championship game, and they were playing really well. And they went out to Oakland, and I think they got beat like 35-0. It was shocking with that defense. It does happen, and it's how you recover from that. You can't let this game also cost you the next one. So it's going to be an interesting week, and one I think that it'll be. I think they'll all have the coach's attention this week after the way they played.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure there's going to be some tough practices throughout the week.
Yes.
Definitely. But hey, good news is next week at Carolina can't be worse. So
right.
That's one positive. We'll see how they come out next week, though. Has to be a little sharper than last night. So thank you for the time today, Rick. And as always, everyone, be sure you're following along with him on Twitter throughout the week for all of your updates. And make sure you're checking out tampabay.com for your full Bucs coverage.